Hello, all the way from Brazil! Exclamation point. I remember a while ago, Steam shared some information about the most used GPUs on their platform, and that laptops had an interesting number. Have you considered reviewing games on various laptops? How different of a workflow do you think it would be to produce such a video? Congratulations on your Independence Day! Exclamation point. Much love from Brazil. Yes, it's an interesting point, Alex, isn't it? Because all of the information that we've kind of gleaned over the years is that the proliferation of gaming laptops is just getting higher and higher. You can look at the Steam hardware survey now, and laptop 4060 is up there with desktop 4060. That's shifting like an incredible amount of units now. And I think it's the case that a lot of the younger audience are getting into gaming either through mobile or through gaming laptops, right? Which brings them into the PC ecosystem, which is great. But it presents a number of challenges in terms of reviews, right?
Yeah, so you just have to look at the way we do reviews for a product. I'll just pick out a GPU right now. Let's say the RTX 5060. We plug that RTX 5060 typically into an extremely large CPU rig, 9800X3D, or something like that. And we just run all the benches at various resolutions. And we say the card runs at this wattage. It gets this frame per watt. It gets, all these things. And then since we have a baseline 9800X3D that we've ran all the other GPUs in that are put out, we can throw that into a graph and you can say, this is how it ran one next to the other. And this can inform your purchasing decision. You cannot do that with a laptop because the laptop is soldered onto a board, usually the GPU next to a CPU, and the CPU could be limiting your performance, and you can't get this like great raster grid comparison to other products in similar categories. You start having to look at this thing more holistically, and comparisons to other products are not so straightforward. That's good because it actually probably does align more with DF's vision of talking about experiential gaming, in some level, I would say, more than the bar charts. But at the same time, it makes the actual review itself extremely arduous, and I'm not exactly sure what data points you go to at that point in time, because one RTX 4060 or 5060 from one laptop manufacturer may actually have a different wattage and thermal threshold and throttling issues that another one wouldn't have. And at that point, you're not even talking about the 5060 anymore. You're talking about some other thing. Some of this does go back into NVIDIA's and AMD's reluctance to bring back things like the RTX 5060 Go. They should really do that.
There's a lot of things, isn't there, Alex? For example, the wattage that a GPU is given in a laptop. A 56. I've got we actually did an HP Omen sponsored video about this that had a 65 watt 4070, right? And that 65 watt 4070 isn't representative of every 4070 laptop out there, even if they all had the same CPU, because it's power limited, and obviously in a slim and light chassis, it could be thermally limited. So where do you start? Do you have like some sort of representative laptop? It's difficult, right? Because every single laptop out there could be different. The power advantage, you could have like a 130 watt 4070 versus the other 65 watt one I looked at. But in that case, you're looking at scenarios where your laptop 4070 could be faster than a laptop 4080 if it's running at a much lower wattage. It's kind of crazy there. It's really difficult to actually make an informed review about running a game on a certain piece of hardware when there's so many different combinations of hardware there. Oliver, you used to actually have a PC gaming laptop, right?
I did, and I ran into this problem a little bit with trying to extract where's the relative performance of my computer relative to this game. And I think the solution there, I had a mobile RTX 3080, was basically just to look up the numbers for the desktop RTX 3060 Ti. Because usually they map on fairly well. So I'd suggest that as the solution here. In particular, because let's say we did sample a representative range of laptops to test for new games, right? That would be a pretty colossal undertaking for all the reasons that Alex suggested. But that's also just 5 individual laptops, right? Whereas if we're covering a kind of part, in the PC space, in the desktop PC space, any given RTX 5070 is going to behave about as well, plus or minus 10% with any other RTX 5070. Whereas the same situation in a laptop, you could be dealing with different TDPs, you could be dealing with different kinds of throttling behavior, you could be dealing with different kinds of fan curves, you could be dealing with different kinds of thermal paste applications, you could be dealing with all kinds of different problems. And also laptops are much more prone, in my experience, especially gaming laptops, to breaking down and suffering from issues. So now all of a sudden you've introduced this extra element, which I'm sure Alex is very, very well acquainted with, which is you're doing a kind of PC review or PC type review, and you're running into issues with the game settings or the operating system or the behavior of the device that you're using that's operating in unexpected ways. And all of a sudden you're spending half a day chasing down random issues with this laptop that is just like totally unproductive time in terms of producing a video. So it's just challenging for a number of reasons, right?
It doesn't happen so much anymore, but there's also somebody who come out with a driver update that like increases performance like 20%.
Yeah,
that used to be the case like with AMD drivers with OpenGL games. There'd be a lot of hilarity around that with driver updates. I think Doom 2016 is probably a classic example of that.